Good morning. I'd like to call to order the Lower American River Conservancy Advisory Committee meeting this October 4th, 2024. Welcome, and ask Mary to call the roll call.
Supervisor Phil Cerna. Chief of Staff Vanessa McCarthy Olmsted. Supervisor Pat Hume.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Karina Talamontes. Nicole Kayar for Councilmember Donald Terry. Morgan Kilgore. Stephen Benson. Jennifer Lucchese. Here. Stephen Green.
Here.
Corey Brown.
Here.
Cassie Gilson.
Here.
Recognizing a quorum, we'll begin doing business. Today we have a very good meeting. We have one action item and 7 guest speakers and some updates on some of the projects we funded. Always makes these meetings fun when we get to hear the progress that's been made on the funding we've allocated. Before we begin, I'd like to welcome Patrick Hume, County Supervisor. He's been at some of the meetings online and this first meeting in attendance. Welcome, Supervisor Hume. Thank you. Very good. We're going to start with public comments. Any person wishing to address the advisory committee on any item on the not on the agenda may do so at this time. And first, I'll ask whether or not we have any speaker cards. And just want to reiterate, this is for items not on the agenda currently. Mary, any speaker cards?
No, there are none.
Okay, any speakers in the room that would like to address any non-agendized items?
There are no raised hands.
I'm sorry?
Saying there's no raised hands.
Oh, yes. Nobody, no hands raised and anybody online?
That is correct.
Hearing none. We'll move into the informational items. First, I'd like to thank Carrie Allen and Mary Hearn for all the preparation for this meeting. The materials are extensive materials online for those who aren't present. And again, thank you both. We're going to start off with information items. Number 1, funding summary with Kara Allen, who's our staff member with Wildlife Conservation Board's Lower American River Conservancy Program. Kara?
Thank you. So I just wanted to mention a few new items to our funding summary. So under our general fund section, you'll see that we have some recovered funds that were for the Lower American River Natural Resources Management Plan. However, that balance of funds reverted on June 30th, 2024. So you'll see that there's a debit for the recovered funds and then a credit since those funds did revert. So we have a 0 balance in our general fund account. And then going on to our Prop 68 fund on page 2, down near the bottom, there's a new line for non-board augmentation process. And that was for a funding augmentation for the American River Ranch Animal Management and Education Program Planning Grant. So that was the planning grant for the animal barn at the American River Ranch. And we processed a funding augmentation for just over $13,000. And that did not come before the committee because it was under 10% of the original grant amount. And you all approved WCB to move forward with those augmentation requests without bringing it to you. And then we also were able to move that through without bringing it to our board for approval because of an authorization that was granted to our executive director. So just wanted to point out that our Prop 68 fund is about $13,000 less than our last meeting. And then we also recovered funds from 4 different projects that we closed out. And so you'll see line items for those projects, and our Prop 68 balance is about $617,000. There is a double asterisk next to that amount. And so there's a little note at the bottom of page 2 that informs us that our remaining balance in our Prop 68 fund is actually just over a little over $1 million. And that includes the contingency fund for approved projects. So when you add up the total Prop 68 fund that we have, plus that contingency amount, what's left in that fund, it totals the 1 million amount. And then last is that of this 1 million amount, about 180,000 will go away June 30th, 2028. And then the remaining balance of 888,000 goes away June 30th of 2030. And I thought that would be good information for you all to know, just so that you know what funds we're working with and until what date.
Great. Any questions for Kara? So what this represents is of the $11 million that Lower American River Conservancy has, including $1 million in general funds from the budget, $10 million from Proposition 68. We've spent roughly about a little bit more than 90% of those funds to date. Of the 880,000 that we have remaining, about half of it is for contingencies in case any projects have funding overruns. The other half is funding that's not allocated. It's possible we may be able to allocate some of the contingency funds if projects don't need those funding. But basically, we've spent out 95% of the money that we've had. I did want to mention that if Proposition 4 is approved by voters this November 5th, we'll have an additional $10 million for Lower American River Conservancy grants that we would advise on how to spend that. Wildlife Conservation Board would be the entity that actually approves those funds. So any other questions? Very good. Let's next, in everybody's packet, there is an update on all the different projects that we funded, and wanted to bring Kara back up in case anybody has any questions on the chart. 4 pages of great information about the various individual items that we funded and their current status. We'll hear about some of those projects later in the meeting on presentations, but not all of them. So I want to see if any of the advisory committee members had any questions.
I do have a question.
Yes, Supervisor Hume.
Thank you. Just out of curiosity solely, on recovered funds, is that money that has come back to the board that was not utilized by those projects?
Correct.
Great, thank you.
One of the things that's helpful with these being bond funds, and it's a line item in the bonds that specifies money for Lower American River Conservancy programs. Those funds aren't spent, they come back to us. We may have to get a legislative appropriation if the appropriation runs out, but they're restricted by the voters to purposes of the Lower American River Conservancy.
Great.
So that's one of the advantages of the bond funds.
Great.
Great, excellent question.
And if I can just point you to something else, Supervisor Hume, on the funded projects table in the notes, you'll see some projects have completed and closed in bold, and then grant funds recovered. And then other projects just say completed and pending closeout, and then the funds to be recovered. So that means we haven't actually closed out that project, but we plan on doing that soon. So the to be recovered amount will not be reflected in the funding summary, but the projects that we have closed out, those recovered funds are reflected in the summary. Yeah.
Okay, not seeing any other questions. We're now going to move to our one action item. I'll bring Kara back up again to consider an augmentation to a grant we made to the County of Sacramento related to the Wood Lake Crossing planning project. Very exciting project in the Wood Lake part of the Parkway. Kara?
Okay, so yeah, agenda item 3 is a funding augmentation request for the Cal Expo and Wood Lake Crossing Planning Grant that was approved at WCB's November 2021 board meeting. The grantee is the Sacramento County Department of Regional Parks, and the original grant amount is just under 150,000, and the augmentation request is about double that amount at just over 300,000. Staff is recommending that we include a time extension through the end of 2026, and this will align the project schedule with the larger Wood Lake Gateway project that the county has merged this crossing project with to leverage their existing contracts for professional services. So the purposes of this project are to complete the planning, design, and environmental clearance for restoring safe access across a stormwater channel that's in the Wood Lake area that was washed out in the winter of 2017. And also for restoring degraded habitat and improving stream flow along that stormwater channel. The top map on this slide shows the project area circled in red and that it's at the eastern end of the Wood Lake area. And the bottom map shows the trail network system through the Wood Lake and Cal Expo areas. And the purple dotted line is the off pavement trail system, as well as the maintenance road network. And you can see that it's been broken at that yellow star, and that's where the culvert crossing was located. So the county has completed several tasks so far, including the scoping meetings to identify the permitting requirements as well as the required surveys. They've completed the project surveys for biological, physical, and archaeological resources. They've drafted a habitat restoration plan that includes a 1/4 acre of channel improvements, over an acre of riparian habitat, about an acre of transitional habitat and almost 2 acres of upland habitat, and a whopping 22 acres of native grassland habitat. They've also completed the conceptual designs for the project elements, which are shown on this slide. And additional funding is needed to cover work that was not anticipated when scoping this planning project. For example, an additional biological assessment was needed for the Valley elderberry longhorn beetle, which is a federally listed species. And that was needed when the county was applying for their geotechnical boring permit through the flood board. And then when consulting with Native American tribes, scent dogs were brought in at the request of a tribe to locate culturally significant sites and artifacts. And then more engineering work was needed to change the location of the bridge crossing to avoid sites that were detected by the dogs. And then additional hydraulic modeling and analysis were completed to ensure the success of the restoration in expanding the channel's capacity for stormwater infiltration while not impacting the City of Sacramento stormwater pump and the Army Corps of Engineers 4A project that are both located at the western end of the Wood Lake area. And this is the proposed budget for the funding augmentation. And the table provides the grant's current budget for both WCB and regional parks and the adjusted amount for each funder. Now, regional parks will be contributing more to the project to maintain their 28% cost share commitment. They've actually upped that a little bit to 30% of the total project cost. And the new total project cost is just under $650,000, which this is more in line with the planning projects we fund at WCB, especially for this type of project that's in a highly regulated landscape with sensitive resources that need to be carefully addressed and avoided. And if recommended for funding, the augmentation will use the same funding source as the original grant, which is our Prop 68 fund. It will come out of that contingency fund for approved projects. And with that, staff recommends that the advisory committee recommend this augmentation for funding. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions from committee members? Seeing no questions, any members of the public, anybody put in speaker cards?
Mr. Chair, this is Cassie Gilson and I'm online. I just have a quick question if it's appropriate now.
Please.
Kara, thank you for the presentation on the project, and it's nice to see it moving along. I just had a question about one of the items that required an augmentation was the elderberry management. And I just wondered why that wasn't on folks' radar originally.
Yeah, so when working with the county's senior planner, I did learn that There was, they did scope for one biological assessment for the entire project, you know, once they completed the designs and were getting permits for this project, but they did not anticipate needing a biological assessment for the geotechnical boring permit. So that's why two biological assessments are actually are going to be needed for this project in order to get it through its surveys and permitting.
Okay, because that elderberry wasn't covered in the original biological assessment, you're saying?
Well, one was not done previously for this site.
Okay,
So yeah, whenever you're applying for a permit that the work could potentially impact a federally listed species,
yeah,
that agency needs to consult
right.
with the
Yeah,
U.S. Fish and
I think I was just wondering, since the elderberry beetle is like generally well understood on the parkway and is a listed species, why it wasn't anticipated early,
Yeah.
like sort of why it was a surprise later, but I'm glad it's getting done.
Yeah, and I think it was just that, you know, they didn't anticipate it for the boring permit, the geotechnical boring permit, yeah.
And this is
Okay, thank
exactly
you
why
so
we
much.
have the contingency funds, was in case there's more issues, more work that needs to get done, given the richness of both biological and cultural resources in the parkway, we're able to fund this additional work to make sure those resources are protected.
Yeah, and I think that's great. And the additional cultural resource work is excellent. So thank you for answering the question.
Very good. Liz Bellis from Regional Parks is here in case you want to make any comments, or if anybody has any questions for the Regional Parks Director.
I just wanted to say thank you for considering this item, and I hope that you will approve. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody in the audience have any questions, comments? Anybody else online? Hearing none. Any discussion amongst committee members, proposals to augment the grant by about $300,000 to allow the county to continue doing the environmental cultural assessment, replanning the location, finishing the different type of work that needs to be done in order to get this project ready to be implemented. Any questions or any comments by committee members? Seeing none, it's time for a motion.
I would move the item.
Supervisor Hume moves the item. Do we have a second? Vice Chair Talamontes seconds. Please call the roll. Please call the roll.
Supervisor Phil Serna. Chief of Staff Vanessa McCarthy Olmsted. Supervisor Pat Hume.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tempore Karina Talamontes.
Aye.
Nicole Kayar.
Aye.
Councilman Donald Terry. Morgan Kilgore. Stephen Benson. Jennifer Luke Casey.
Yes.
Stephen Green.
Aye.
Corey Brown.
Aye.
Cassie Gilson.
Aye.
The motion passes.
Great. Thank you very much. Congratulations for Regional Parks and Supervisor Hume on his first motion.
Yeah.
Comes up with important funding for the county. Next, we're going to move to a series of presentations. The first one is with the Sacramento Regional Conservation Corps. Sandra Waterhouse, welcome. We've allotted 20 minutes for this discussion, and I'm very pleased to hear from the Regional Conservation Corps, having been a past board member for the Corps and having worked to get various bond funding into bonds for the network of local conservation corps around the state. They do great conservation work and provide job training and opportunities for general education, diplomas for at-risk youth, and great program. And Sandra, welcome.
Thank you very much. And you just did all my slides, so we're very, very happy to be here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Sacramento Regional Conservation Corps, next Thursday, we'll be celebrating our 40th year in existence. in Sacramento. We were established by the Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce back in 1984 to provide an opportunity for 18 to 26-year-olds, young adults to acquire educational achievement and job training. And from 1984, we have never varied from that task that we were given. Next. Like I said, we serve 18 to 26-year-olds, paid job training. So they receive a wage when they are working. They can earn a high school diploma at our partner charter high school, John Muir Charter High School. We provide case management services. We provide vocational pathways, and we have career placement assistance. Next. So with our case management services, we have a case manager on site who helps our young adults assess where they are, figure out where they want to go, and what do they want to do when they are at the Corps for 1 year. Next. I thought I'd include this in the slides just to show you what our demographics are. We have our age from 18 to 26. Most of our Corps members are in the 21 to 25-year-old bracket. They have most of them, and I'd say, where are we here? A lot of our Corps members are African American, Hispanic, multiracial, and that's about it. Next. This is our service area. So I-5 on our left, on the west side, the Oregon border on the top of our service area. On our right side, on our east side, the Nevada border. And our southern border is Sacramento County. We are one of 14 regional and local conservation corps in the state of California. We are under the California Conservation Corps. We abide by their rules and regulations. But we are all, 14 of us are all local, either 501c3s or we're county office of eds, that type of area. You can see in the big circle, those are where most of our urban projects take place. We try to go out and come back within an 8-hour period to do the work. So if we have to go further, say up to Reading and work 2 or 3 days, then we will put the Corps members up those nights, make sure they're fed, and then when they get ready, then they come home. We just finished a 4-day project outside of Truckee at Weber Lake, where we did a lot of reforestation. We cut some lodge poles so that the water was not getting in, but staying in the meadow. And it was highly successful. Our core members loved camping. Next. Our urban project partners, Sacramento County, Sacramento City, University of California, Agriculture and Natural Resources Department, Sierra Streams Institute, Yolo County. You can see we have a wide range of partners that we do work for. Next. Couple pictures. These are our project types. You just saw some of our partnerships: regional, county, city, SMUD, special districts, land management agencies, state parks, and the Butte County Office of Education. What we do: fire fuel reduction, streetscapes, conservation projects. You can kind of see the list there. The pictures down in the lower left is our group out at OHV working, doing some trimming, working out there for a week or so. The middle is our core members putting things into the bucket to get oh, I just lost it. To get mulched. And the right, we just started early this year. We started a fire team to where they can, we hope, eventually get jobs with CAL FIRE, with the Forest Service, etc. All working in Sacramento County area. Next. Some highlights. The middle picture is where we go and water the trees at the project over off of Richards Boulevard, the housing project over there. We, on the right side, are planting trees, but then putting cages over them so the trees can survive the critters. And left side is just another picture of a fire crew. We do invasive species removal, landscape construction, vegetation management, habitat restoration, trail construction, and park improvements. Next. These are some of the trainings and certifications that our core members go through and come out with when they finish their year with us. Fire crew trainings, OSHA 10, general industry, HAZWOPER 40, first aid, CPR, AED, and wilderness first aid training, power tool training, and the California naturalist training provided by UCANR. Next. I think I'm going too fast, am I?
No, you're going fine. You have 10 more minutes.
Oh,
Thank you, Sandra.
yes. Our funding comes through fee-for-service projects. We have funding coming through the Department of Cal Recycle. We have state grants and fundraising and donations. Next. So this is a little bit of work that we've done at the American River Parkway. Active we receive active transportation projects, which are only allocated to local cores. DOT signage enhancement, trail renovation and improvement from Discovery Park to Hazel. This is a 3 to 4 year work project. We are currently using Nature-Based Solutions grant for fire fuel reduction on critical locations from Ansel Hoffman Park all the way to the Hazel Bridge on both sides of the river. Next. We thought we would add, in case anyone wants to know what the process for contracting with SRCC is. We are always looking for new project opportunities so that our core members can really learn a lot about conservation work. We can increase our program population in a very short amount of time. Right now, as a matter of fact, we have a 60-person wait list that we're trying to get through. Our contracts are executed within a very short time frame. We do not normally provide fire emergency response, meaning that if I'm going to say, if the CCC is out working on a project and it's fire fuel or there is a fire emergency, they would be the ones to be taking that. We would normally not get called out for it. So we are able to always complete our projects that we undertake. Next. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
You can see our Deputy Director of Operations is Baldeo Singh. That's his email. And I'm the Community Engagement Manager for the Corps, and that's my email. Is there anyone that's got questions for me? I would be happy to answer them.
Yes, members of the committee, looks like Steve Green has a question.
Steelhead Creek, which is of course adjacent to the river, was absolutely overwhelmed with trash, garbage, tires, mattresses, and Corps members have worked very hard to clean up that creek, and we really appreciate the good work they have done.
Very
Well,
good.
thank you very much, Mr. Green. Thank you.
Supervisor Hume.
Thank you, Chair. Sandra, just a couple of questions. First of all, it's fantastic to hear that you have a waiting list, and I support not only your mission, but also the programs that you are undertaking. How are the young individuals chosen for participation?
They hear about us a lot by word of mouth from our current Corps members, former Corps members. We do job fairs, that kind of thing. And when they say, hey, I think I want to do this, they will make application on our website. When they make the application, then our 3-person team will call the people, talk to them, see what they are doing these days. We ask a lot of questions of them to see if they are truly interested.
Fantastic. So they're self-selecting, but then you vet them to find an appropriate fit.
Yes, sir.
Great. Well, it's fortuitous that our Director of Regional Parks is sitting in the audience right now, because I would think we have a laundry list of ways that we could partner with you, particularly on the Parkway. I can think of one project right now, that I'll talk with Liz about later. And then I'd just like to say that, you know, it's great that one of the focus is, wildfire management. You know, unfortunately, I think that's probably a growth field, for these young people right now. And then the last thing is, I don't know what a HAZWOP 40 is, but it sounds like fun. So
It is a lot of fun. It's hazardous material awareness. And you learn all about hazardous materials, how to handle them. Making sure you're safe at all times. And then you go out to events and you learn firsthand, hands-on. When people come to deliver their hazardous materials, they don't even know half the time what it is that they're bringing in. It might be hazardous, but that's what our folks do. They get their certification and then they go firsthand and learn all about it.
Any other questions, comments? Did want to add that Assemblyman McCarty's legislation establishing the Lower American River Conservancy did include a provision prioritizing projects involve either the local conservation corps or the state conservation corps, so we can provide the job training for youth. And in our criteria, when we review projects, there's extra points if you engage the Sacramento Regional Conservation Corps, the local corps, which is all very helpful. There's also, if Proposition 4 was to be approved, there's money in there for, as there was in Prop 68 and all the bonds going back to 2000, funding for the local corps and the state corps. Some of the funding goes into their facilities. If folks haven't had a chance to tour the Sacramento Regional Conservation Corps facility over by Fruit Ridge and the light rail station, it's pretty impressive what they're doing on recycling and other things at that facility, training youth how to how to do these jobs and others. There's also money for wildfire prevention. There's funding for a variety of things that could benefit the corps as well as the parkway. Finally, I just want to mention the Corps has in the past held an annual fundraiser called Breakfast on the River in Discovery Park. It's always very inspirational attending because you hear from previous Corps members where the Corps changed their life. They took them from some from gang involvement, some of them from just poverty, gave them job skills, whether they're hired by the county or the city, private companies. It really is a program that changes lives, and encourage you to learn more about the Sacramento Regional Conservation Corps. They do very good work.
Thank you, sir. At any time, any of you would like to come and tour the campus, you are more than welcome. Just send me an email, and Tara has my phone number as well. And I am deeply grateful to all of you. We will entertain all offers of contracts at any time.
Sandra, before you go, I want to find out if anybody online or anybody in the audience has questions for you. Hearing none.
There are no raised hands.
I'm sorry?
Should no raised hands. Good.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Well, Sandra, thank you for your presentation and the work that the Corps and all of your Corps members do for benefiting the greater Sacramento community. We now want to go to project updates on projects we've previously funded. One of the fun parts is always to learn what's been accomplished or what's being accomplished. Our first person is Joey Johnson from the American River Natural History Association. I think all of us are familiar with.
Jumped past these.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Joey, excuse me. The jumping ahead of myself. It's time for committee member updates. Any members of the advisory committee have any updates? Oh, sorry. We'll go to that in a minute.
You're very excited for the updates.
I am. No committee member updates? Okay, now one of our regular features is hearing from Liz Bellis, our County Regional Park Director, about progress and activities related to the American River Parkway. Liz, welcome.
Thank you very much. And to Supervisor Hume's point, we have some current projects with the Sacramento Regional Conservation Corps. They're doing a great job, some trail projects and also some fire fuel reduction, which I imagine is probably one of the things you wanted to talk to me about. all right, better? Okay. So I have a couple of things. I want to go through some of the quick little updates before we get into the meat of the matter, which would be our natural resources management plan update, and then also an update on the proposed mitigation at the Rudia property. First things first, through August of this year, we have removed 1,046 camps off the American River Parkway and 1,152.5 tons of trash and debris. This is actually in keeping with years past. I would invite you, if you're not already following us on social media, which you really ought to be because we're awesome, but we have a Facebook account and also Instagram. And on there, you will see a recent post, and it's a video featuring a couple of our rangers. And it talks about an encounter they had with a family of 6 in the Lower American River Parkway, and how they were able to work with both the county's resources team and the city's resources team and get them immediately housed within about a week or so. And it's just a very touching story, and I hope you have a chance to hear about that, because that really epitomizes the good work that our rangers do, not just on the enforcement side, but also looking at the human side and making sure that we're taking care of people. Finally, October is one of our big months on the American River Parkway in Discovery Park, our most developed park on the American River Parkway. We have a few events that are happening. We have our Aftershock Festival, our Golden Sky Festival, and the Ironman race. So we're going to have a lot of people enjoying our parkway coming up here in a short amount of time. I wanted to recognize also that Danny Wimmer Presents, the people that put on the festivals, Aftershock and Golden Sky, have continued their underwriting of our low-income annual passes. That means that if you qualify for our low-income annual pass, you can get that for absolutely no charge whatsoever. We have installed a lot of new river safety signage on the American River. I'm sure that you've seen some of the media reports of the tragic drownings that we have encountered this year. However, we do feel that this new signage and also the prohibition of jumping off of the clay banks at El Manto access has resulted in natural safety improvement on the parkway. I'd like to invite all of the committee members to do a ride-along with our ranger staff, if you are so inclined. So you can really get into the weeds, so to speak, and see the actual part of the American River Parkway. I think that you will be pleased to see the progress that has been made as far as natural resources improvement, but also the fact that we don't have as many encampments on the parkway. We've made a lot of strides in that area. Campus Commons Golf Course, if you have driven by on H Street or on the bike trail, you'll see that it is almost done. We're probably going to have more of a grand opening in the spring. There are a few things that need to happen. A big thing would be the safety fence along the trail so that bicyclists don't get pinged in the head by a golf ball. If I were, say, golfing, I'm not a good golfer. So there's a few things that still need to happen, but it's looking great out there. It's very, very beautiful. I'd like to do a quick little shout out for a couple of our partners that are not on the agenda. That would be Sacramento Valley Conservancy. On October 10th, they have a fundraising event called Treasures of the Valley. So if you are able to attend that, that would be wonderful. And also the Sacramento Area Creeks Council has a Streamside Social on October 13th. That's their first ever fundraising event. Both of those are going to be held at Camp Pollock. So if you're able to attend those, I'll see you on October 13th if you're out there. We have created a Sacramento County project under iNaturalist. And that means that we are able to collect all of the data that people are putting into the iNaturalist system, whether they're talking about different wildlife they're seeing or different plants they're seeing. And we're going to be able to integrate that into our natural resources management plan, data collection. But it's also just a really great way to involve citizen science. Okay, so now let's get to the meat of it. I have the Natural Resources Management Plan update. That's actually Urea. We can talk about that first, since it's up on the screen. So to your left there is the Army Corps of Engineers kind of draft what they would like to do for restoration at the Urea site. And you can see there that it has taken away the entirety of the pond. Regional Parks feels that it's very important to keep a portion of the pond available for the wildlife that are in that area. And we had presented the alternative that you see on the right there. Now, that plan itself actually needs to be reworked a little bit and revised based on some new knowledge that we have on resources, cultural significant resources, and natural resources that we would need to avoid. So we are working on figuring out how to revise that to give an alternative for the Army Corps to consider. With that, I'll pause to see if anyone has any questions on this particular item.
Any questions from committee members? Councilwoman Talamontes?
Thank you. After this meeting, can you tell me more about the passes for the low-income families?
Absolutely.
Okay, wonderful. And then just so it's on everyone's radar, the McClellan Dock is on the Garden Highway. It was federal property that was given to the city of Sacramento back in 2008. And it was supposed to be a park. And because of deferred maintenance and the years have gone by, nothing was ever done with that property, with that land. And we were close to giving it back to the federal government, but our fire department had requested it to go under their books to see if we can do like a joint powers authority with other regions to be able to get boats on the waterfront quickly or do some kind of just natural conservancy. And so I just want to throw it out there that the city of Sacramento has a dock and it's on the American River, and it could be a good opportunity for everyone from Yolo to Sac County to our local agencies, since it's right there at the confluence, and something that I think is really special to Sacramento and something that we can continue to highlight where our two rivers connect. And I recently got in a canoe with 8 other people where I couldn't stand for 6 hours. And we reached the confluence and it was just kind of like exciting to make a right. And then like there we were. And so just for everyone from the state leadership and locally, just to have it on your radar. If you see any funding available, if there's any projects that you see that can qualify for this, just have it on your radar.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm assuming still no questions online on Urea?
There are no raised hands.
Thank you.
Question? Okay.
The next item is our Natural Resources Management Plan status update, and that item was emailed out to the committee members earlier this week. And I want to recognize the fact that we have a lot of other presentations still to come. So I'm not going to go through this page by page, but rather I would like to highlight a couple of things. That is, we're doing pretty well. We're on track, with the exception of one item. And this one item is pretty important, and that is getting an agreement with our utilities, that would be SMUD, PG&E, and WAPA, so that we can really do some great restoration work under the utility corridor within the American River. So we are behind on that. We do not have an agreement in place yet. We were hoping to have that done in 1 year, and it's not done yet. But everything else is on track, and things are going really well, and I'm very excited with some of the partnerships that we've been able to form. We've been meeting with the Shingle Springs Band of Miwok and talking about some restoration work that we could possibly do at Discovery Park. And I look forward to seeing how we can bring that forward as well. I'm going to pause here to see if there are any particular questions.
Any questions by committee members?
Just ask one.
Yes, Stephen?
You indicated we're not done with the utility agreement. Is there sort of a status update of how far along we are and if there's particular sticking points or?
So we have had conversations with SMUD. We are having conversations with PG&E right now on actual mitigation work that they're going to be doing in the parkway. We have not been able to get a good connection with WAPA. It's going to be a challenge, I think, to bring all 3 utility companies together. and have them all in agreement, but we're up for the challenge.
Thank you.
I did want to recognize Stephen Benson from Department of Finance has joined us. Thanks. Thank you, Stephen. Any other comments, questions for Liz? Liz, thank you. I just want to mention that when we worked on writing the Lower American River Conservancy legislation, the Natural Resources Management Plan was the highest priority for the county. It was one of the first allocations out of our general fund allocation that Assemblymember McCarty secured. And it's great to see. Congratulations to Liz for your leadership on getting that plan adopted. It's always great to see implementation of the various elements of it. We followed, for example, some of the grants on the some of the ADA trails, including in those. One of the projects was Rancho Cordova. One was City of Sacramento, working to restore areas where social trails were that came directly out of the Natural Resources Management Plan. So we've been following your guidance on that.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
I'd just like to put it out there that I'm a sponsor of the Sac Valley Conservancy's Treasures of the Valley event, but I cannot attend. So I have 4 tickets available if any committee members would like to go, and I'll see you at the Dog Days event for the creek cleanup folks.
And Sacramento Valley Conservancy is one of our grantees, and for folks that have gone to Camp Pollock, you could see all the work that's been done to improve Camp Pollock in terms of trails, native gardens, now a kids play area, and many others that were funded with LARC funding. So congratulations. Okay, the next person we're going to hear from is Joey Johnson. Sorry to call you up earlier. I'm so sorry. WC updates. I am so excited to get into these projects, but WCB updates are also extremely important.
I will go very fast
So
so you
sorry.
can get to Joey. I just have a quick update on our logo. You guys all got a sticker. So WCB's logo that I inherited is really not suited for the modern world. It doesn't work very well digitally. If you've seen it on the Parkway, you see it's kind of small and hard to see. So we've done a little upgrade. So the new logo is there on the right. We've changed out our wetland plant to a tule, which is of course a really important species in California for just about everyone, but also sort of gives a nod to our indigenous partners who use tule a lot in their ceremony and basket making. So we thought it was appropriate for where we are in our trajectory, and then just upgraded our lettering so that you can see us better from a distance. And then the little circles and the sticker that we gave you, those are what we use on, social media buttons and so on. So just wanted to share that with you. We're very excited about it. Use it liberally. Next slide. And then wanted to alert you to the fact that we are, these are a little hard to see, but maybe not on the big screen. We're getting ready to hold a series of workshops on our 2025 to 2030 strategic plan update. We got delayed about 6 months because of the budget freeze. I had intended to do it in the spring and summer, but we're getting ready now. So we will be holding in-person workshops in Redding, Inglewood, Monterey, and Riverside. And we selected those locations really with the hope that we would tap into folks that we don't normally see and expand our reach to communities that may or may not appreciate all that WCB does for them throughout the state. We will also be putting together an online workshop for those that can't attend in person. We have yet to do that. That's a website page we're going to build. In any case, this is end of October, early November. So if you're in the neighborhood, we hope to see you there. And share it with your friends, more importantly, if you have folks around the state who may want to attend. Our staff will be there talking about WCB. It'll be a friendly, low-key environment. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Jennifer. One of the reasons why the strategic planning effort is so important, if Proposition 4 was to be approved, WCB would have over $800 million from the measure to work with, and the strategic plan can help guide where those funds are allocated. So thank you to Jennifer and her staff for all the work that's going into updating the strategic plan and making sure excellent projects are funded throughout the state with current as well as potential prospective funding. Okay, so my apology for the delay again, making sure that I'm not missing any other items.
We've all been waiting for.
Moment we've all been waiting for. Joey Johnson with American River Natural History Association about the FEA Nature Center facilities improvements. We've funded some planning for that, and we're all very excited to hear any updates with respect to that planning effort.
Good morning, committee members. My slideshow is really short. It's just to give you something else to look at besides me. The majority of this past year, we've spent going through the CEQA process for our master plan. And that has been quite a learning experience for us all. We began in October of 23 and we completed the process with an approval by the Board of Supervisors on August 20th this summer. So, and that was for our entire master plan, which includes the aviary that the grant has provided planning funding for. We were able to go through CEQA and do it as an addendum to the environmental impact review for the American Parkway Plan. And this surprisingly was going to streamline it a little bit, but just can't say that that's necessarily the case. We did identify some mitigation measures that will be involved when we do actually construct the aviary. Elderberry has been mentioned earlier and we have those, but those things all need to be addressed and assessed for really close to the time that we are actually really doing construction. Which at this point it will not be next year. We have some other major construction that's going to be going on at the Nature Center, which is a good thing. Parks is providing ADA compliance improvement upgrade to our buildings, and especially the main building that was built in 1976 and is in desperate need of this work. So you can only have so much construction going on at one time without completely disrupting everything we do. And this definitely takes priority. We are currently working with our architectural team. We continue to work directly with Lionakis Architects. They've been very generous with their support. It's not all pro bono, but it's very nonprofit friendly, shall we say. We're working on our plans, actual construction documents at this point, now that we've gone through the CEQA process. Hope to have, well, we will have the construction documents done by the end of this grant, which is December 31st. We also are working very closely with Casey Sorgan from the Parks Planning Department. She's been amazing in helping us negotiate some of the other agency permits or requirements that we either needed to determine. We needed to determine whether we needed to do them or not. And she was very helpful in getting us through that process. And she continues to support us. One of the things was a tip of the building was in the floodplain. And we chose to, because we're still at the concept stage, we were able to kind of move the building up a little bit so that it was out of the floodplain stage area. And that will facilitate moving forward with planning, because I understand that that process is somewhat lengthy and maybe more involved than CEQA. I'm not sure. We also determined that we did not need a lake and stream bed alteration assessment. And this is going to save us about $10,000 that we didn't have. So we're thankful for that. And we are currently connecting with Metro Fire District to determine what requirements we need for our buildings so that we build those into our construction plans. As I said, we plan on having the construction plans done by the end of the grant. We have at this point in time about 103,000 left on our grant, and by the time December rolls around, that will be gone. We're working with our architects to keep their services within the grant, and they're very accommodating in that. But we will not be hopefully giving you any money back. We will be using it. So, and we are very grateful for having this opportunity. And we also have at this point met our cost share, which was 22,500. CEQA ended up running past the 35,000 augmentation grant that we received. And so we have been paying that, and it's made up for, it has definitely fulfilled our cost share promise. And that's pretty much where we are. Oh, I needed to, I wanted the slide to move forward. Okay, here are two of our resident animal ambassadors that would be living in this aviary when it becomes ready. And I did want to talk a little bit about Weck, our peregrine falcon. Just recently went through some major surgery. She's disabled due to getting shot in the wings by BB gun. And one of her wings was very badly damaged and was causing her a lot of pain. So she just went through a partial amputation of the wing to remove the damaged section that was causing pains, but she's doing well, and we're happy for that. And of course, our little kestrel is always a cutie. So just wanted that for the cute factor in what we do. Next slide, please. So this is the vision of what this aviary building will look like. It's designed to fit in with the natural surroundings. It is not an office building. It is for lack of a better term, it's a birdhouse. It's designed for agricultural purposes. The idea is that the birds will have a safe place in the back at night, which is secure, and it will, and they can come forward into the open area and get sunshine without having to be on the arm of a naturalist, which is the current situation. The fencing you see in this is security fencing that will go all the way around, because we do have visitors on occasion that could impact the safety of the animals. So security has become a major part of this project. Next slide, please. Maybe not. Where we go? Oh, there it is. Okay, this is just the floor plan, which shows the interior area where the animals can be put in lockdown, so to speak, at night and be secure. The open air area that is also safe. The area in front of it will be used for educational purposes, and but not in a zoo format, but as an educational and supervised format, because we are not a zoo, we are a nature center. Next slide, please. And this just gives you an overview of where the building will be in relation to the current building. The main building you're seeing in the front of this drawing is what we call the museum or main building. And this is up in the back of it, so that it doesn't impact the look of the nature center, and it really doesn't use land that we are, it will be a better use of that section of land. It's currently an open amphitheater that was built by Eagle Scouts many years ago, and it's kind of a rattlesnake home. So we haven't been using it much, and we hope to use that land for a more productive and purpose for our animals. And that pretty much brings it to an end. Happy to entertain questions if anyone has any.
Very good. Thank you for the presentation. Any questions by committee members? Seeing none, any questions from people in the audience or online?
There are no raised hands.
Great. Joey, thank you so much for your presentation. We look forward to seeing the next stages on the project.
Thank you. And please come visit. We're open. I mean, the trails are open 7 days a week. So, and it's a lovely place. So thank you.
Yeah, folks haven't been to FEI. It's just a wonderful nature center for kids as well as adults. The next speaker is Erica Bishop with the Water Forum. We're going to learn more about the Lower Cordova Creek Restoration Planning Project. Erica?
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to provide an update. We can skip ahead to the next slide. Here we go. All right, just a bit of reorientation since it's been a while since we talked about Cordova Creek. This creek was an old shotcrete drainage channel through the American River Ranch area, Riverbend Park, right near Soilborn Farms. And the Water Forum and project partners, including Regional Parks, Safeca, and many others, worked through the naturalization process of the upstream portion of phase 1 of Cordova Creek back in 2016, 2017. And that is the larger area. And if you have an opportunity to go out, it has really taken off. We have the beavers coming back. That area the willows are massive. It's a really amazing spot to come and check out the creek, listen to the birds, and make sure you visit Soilborn while you're out there. So although the restoration of the entire creek length was planned, that upstream portion was the easiest and most effective use of funds at the time. And the short portion from the bike trail down to the American River is the most, although it is short, it is the most complex portion of the creek due to the steep gradient that needs to be managed in the project design there. So we worked through in concluding at the very end of 2022, WCB funded a Water Forum to work through a stakeholder engagement, a stakeholder involved design process, working through project concepts and getting us up to a 65% design for that second phase of the creek from the bike bridge down to the American River. And that's a multi-benefit project. Many of you may know of the Water Forum through our salmon projects, but Cordova Creek is really multi-benefits for the parkway. Once we get to the point that we can construct that, phase 2 project will include a multi-use trail and also it's a multi-use trail improvements. They're improving line of sight and trail safety along the bike trail, also improving the bike bridge. That's a multi-use bridge. It would be once constructed about twice as wide as it is right now, and would also, so that would offer more room for passage of bikers and pedestrians, and would also have a spot on the south side of the bridge where it's a raised area that Soilborn and others would be able to use that. Folks could step out of the way of traffic on the bridge, view the creek, conduct interpretation, and just take a moment there in the shade. So much better safety and access for the bike trail and bridge that crosses the creek. We also will be realigning the channel that is currently, concrete that's kind of starting to break apart. That would have a better connection to the river to make sure that it would never, the connection wouldn't go dry. It would be connecting to a downstream pool. It also would be a stable channel, knowing that the American River, sometimes we have quite large flow increases during flood releases. There is some potential for, in certain water years, in certain conditions, potential for some juvenile salmon habitat up in the creek, but also really a focus on refugia for other native fish, amphibians, mammals, including project elements that may support our turtles, our birds, and other species. So we are working through, we've started on phase 3. There have been, a few delays, but we're currently working through scoping and budgeting out the CEQA compliance and what our mitigation approach is going to be for the project. We want to make sure that when we do come to the board and other entities for final design and permitting and construction funding, that we really have all of our ducks in a row, that we've gone through our CEQA compliance process, we've completed our NOD and have that available, and that we have worked with, re-engage our stakeholder group as needed and work with our landowner regional parks regarding what our mitigation approach might be, so that can all be included and avoid any surprises once we get into our final design and construction process. We are awaiting that bit of budget authorization here at the Water Forum. We, for those of you who are not familiar, the Water Forum is an interest-based, was based upon an interest-based negotiation that occurred between members of the water, environmental, business, and public entities on the Parkway and in the region over 20 years ago. The Water Forum agreement is coming up for expiration in 2030. So we are right now right in the thick of that renegotiation process, bringing all those folks back to the table. So you can imagine there are definitely some competition for resources at this time, but I am working diligently to move Cordova Creek forward amidst those processes, and look forward to providing an update. I think we should be able to get through budgeting, scoping, and get through that NOD process, I think, within the next year and a half. And then we'll be coming back to the board and others looking to construct this project.
Very good. Any questions from committee members? Seeing no questions, any questions from folks in the audience or online?
There are no raised hands.
No raised hands. Erica, thank you so much for your presentation, and we look forward to continuing progress on the Lower Cordova Creek project. The next two speakers relate to City of Sacramento's Sutter's Landing Park project. Both are going to be online. Dana Rapon, who's a senior planner with the City of Sacramento, about update on the West Sutter's Landing, the Blue Diamond acquisition, and then Adam Randolph about the Two Rivers Trail update. Dana, I think you're first, and welcome to the Lower American River Conservancy meeting.
Great. Good morning. Thank you for having me, committee members. My name is Dana Repan. I'm a senior planner with the City of Sacramento's Department of Youth Parks and Community Enrichment, or YPSE for short. My contact information is on the screen. Next slide. Thank you. A few years ago, the city received an award of over $1.6 million of Prop 68 grant funds. With these funds, the city was able to acquire land that's known as the Blue Diamond property. It is comprised of almost 19 acres of former landfill and riverfront access. This acquisition was the catalyst for further park expansion through the donation of land from SMUD of their former substation and the closure of two adjacent landfills, Cannon and Skolin. It symbolizes the city's desire to reuse and reimagine industrial land by providing opportunities for passive recreation, habitat restoration, access to the American River Parkway, and the protection of open space. The regional park has grown by 38 acres over the last 5 years. Next slide. The current site plan for Sutter's Landing Regional Park was approved in 2003. It represents the public's desire for access to the river and places for people and dogs to recreate, which hasn't changed in 20 years. However, what has changed in recent years is the western expansion of land and park improvements. YPSE is leading park improvements, such as a new concession stand and ranger station, habitat enhancement features, the Baylor Building mural and skate park updates, a parking lot gate, and the planning of an ADA access trail through the parkway. All of these projects are expected to be completed in 2025. Next slide. To address the recent changes in growth potential, last year the city embarked on a site plan update to create a vision for the park for another 20 years, incorporating the newly acquired 38 acres, recent landfill closure activities, compatibility with adjacent land uses, and the potential of reuse of other areas within the park. The goal of the update is to have a feasibility analysis, a site amenities plan, and a guidebook. The combination of these documents will create a long-term plan that documents the opportunities and constraints of the site for both park users and park partners. There are 4 main tasks to this update. We've completed 3 of the 4. We're now at the last task at the drafting stage, with the conceptual plan and guidebook being developed. Next slide. This summer, we released a community survey and received over 800 responses. Most respondents said that they often visited the park and participated in recreation activities at least once a month, and participated in activities such as walking and biking and river recreation. Many responded that they would like to see improvements, including more shade and extension of the trails. They also wanted a pleasant and safe park experience with sports fields and courts, social activities, a playground, and access to natural trails. A majority of the responses pointed toward a vision of a multi-use regional park. Next slide. With the recent survey results and feedback from the project's partners, a vision plan for the park is developing. The colors on this map represent different uses within the park. This is still in concept stage, but we wanted to show where opportunities for passive and active recreation can be sited within the park. With careful consideration of the constraints of the site being situated on multiple landfills and different closure stages and other land use restrictions, the western parcels are identified as having potential uses such as shared use paths and the extension of the Two Rivers Trail, nature appreciation and preservation, habitat enhancement, native gardens, and access to the riverfront. Next slide. The next steps in the site plan update is a community workshop in December. We plan to unveil the draft concept plan for input. And with this input, we will have a site amenities plan and guidebook for the city's Parks and Community Enrichment Commission, for Sacramento County Parks and Recreation, to review and comment on in early 2025. Then a final draft for the city council's approval this spring. The approved site plan and guidebook will lay groundwork for future funding opportunities and positive activation of a gem for the city of Sacramento. If anyone would like to find out further information about the community meeting or be added to the project's mail list, you can contact me directly at 916-808-2762. That's my presentation. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Dana. Dana's done an excellent job getting community input into a new plan for Sutter's Landing. Want to first see if there's any questions, comments by committee members? Stephen?
Has any hazardous waste been found on this site?
On the western parcels specifically, or throughout the Sutter's Landing?
This is on the Blue Diamond property or the?
On the Blue Diamond.
It is the site of a former landfill that was closed and cleaned to park standards.
Yeah, the closure was approved by all the regulatory agencies, so it's been capped before the city was acquired the property. So it met all the regulatory requirements, and they're going to continue monitoring.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? One of the things I wanted to point out is that the Lower American River Conservancy Program provided the city $1.6 million to acquire the 19-acre Blue Diamond property. That enabled the city to go to SMUD and get SMUD to donate the adjoining 12-acre property. So what we paid for was funding for 19 acres. We ended up with 31 acres because of the ability to leverage those funds into some additional land. And the eventual goal is to add half a mile of river frontage. This two projects that added about a quarter mile of river frontage. And the eventual goal is to add a half a mile of river frontage in the overall scheme of things. Dana, thank you so much. No other questions for Dana, comments? Next, we'll go to Adam Randolph, who's also done a great job in terms of getting community input. When I was last at Sutter's Landing, Randall's consultants were out meeting with some of the community groups about locations of trails and things like that. So take it away.
All right. Thank you, everybody. So my name's Adam Randolph. I'm with the City of Sacramento Public Works Department. I've been the project manager over some form of the Two Rivers Trail for I think the past 8 years, and probably have another close to that in front of me still. Can you go next slide? So Two Rivers Trail Network, just for a little background, actually starts at Tiscornia Park. And the goal with the trail is to create a continuous riverfront trail along the south bank of the American River throughout the entire city limits. So currently we run from Tiscornia Park up to State Route 160. We have a short stretch within Sutter's Landing Park from 28th Street east to the Union Pacific Railroad. And then we also pick up at H Street, and technically it's a county trail. Thank you, Liz. But we go from H Street all the way to Watt Avenue. Next slide. Currently under construction, we have what's referred to as our Phase 2 trail, which is filling part of the gap, again, from the Union Pacific Railroad, the east side of the Union Pacific Railroad this time, up to the H Street, or up to and tying into the H Street Bridge. Next slide. As part of this project, the Phase 3 project, which we are very grateful that you guys helped us fund the preliminary work on, we are filling filling as many of the remaining gaps as we can, and I will go into that in more detail. But that includes the Eastern Railroad crossing between the Phase 2 project and the Phase 1 project, as well as in Sutter's Landing Park running west of 28th Street, or west of 28th Street, we have another rail crossing in there, and then figuring out how to cross State Route 160. Next slide. So for fun, just because everyone loves construction pictures, I went ahead and threw up some of our Phase 2 project. It's not technically part of this, other than it ties directly in and will be part of the overall trail. Currently, we have about 2/3 of the Phase 2 project built. We're getting ready to mobilize for another piece of it, which is tying into the existing trail network at H Street. And then the west side of our project, which is really to get the trail open, we'll just call it from Glen Hall Park west to the railroad. It's kind of that picture you see on the very right side of your screen. We are kind of beholden to the Army Corps' bank protection project. Once they wrap up, we'll be able to get our trail pushed all the way through to the railroad. Next slide. So for this project, our Phase 3 project, again, we have multiple parts of it. If you are looking at the slide here, we have our eastern crossing, which is a relatively straightforward crossing of the railroad. And then the remainder of the project we have broken into 3 pieces. We're calling it West Segment A, West Segment B, West Segment C. That eastern rail crossing will hopefully be a very short-term project. It's a tiny gap closure, and it exists because the railroad is rebuilding their trestle bridge on the south bank of the American River, and essentially will not let us cross underneath their tracks until they get that project built. From the latest we've heard, and that was actually a pretty recent update, the rail is planning on building out there next year, and they're basically going to take all of the construction year in 2025. The good news about that is what they're building is designed to accommodate our trail crossing underneath. So essentially, all we have to do is get through regulatory permitting, and by the time we can get through that, the rail should be complete, and we will most likely be coming back to you asking about a construction project. Looking at the western portion of this project, again, we have our Segment A, Segment B, Segment C. Segment A is looking at how best to cross Sutter's Landing Park. Segment B is crossing the Western Railroad. Segment C is working through the River District to cross State Route 160 and connect into the original trail. Just focusing on Segment B while we have the image up here, working with railroads, I think a lot of people know, is a very difficult challenge that we have. What we have found in our preliminary work out here is that there is a feasible option for us to build a bridge up and over those tracks. And what is particularly important about the way I said that is feasible option to go over the tracks. If that exists, then the railroad basically won't listen to any other options that we may have. So the intent for the city at this point is to build an overcrossing of the railroad tracks. However, the magnitude of that extends beyond what we can do with this grant. So what we're doing is saving that for a Phase 4 project. I'll ask for next slide. With the crossing of Sutter's Landing Park, I will say we just closed a community survey that we had going for about a month and a half. We also met with a few different interested parties out in the field there. The overwhelming support that we received from both of those was the alternative one that you see here. So what that means is we would create a paved trail from where the current trail ends at 28th Street down along A Street, kind of squeeze between that adjacent property and the SMUD substation, and then follow that blue alignment for our paved trail, which would end somewhere in the top left corner of the park. From there, it actually connects into multiple gravel maintenance roads that are out there that allow for kind of a looped trail through that scenic area. So we're essentially creating a nature or a looped nature trail through the park. And I think we're looking at ways to enhance and ways to take advantage of that opportunity. I will also say that I mentioned public input. I believe our survey had around 450 respondents, which was an amazing response. We're very excited about that. And again, the clear preferred alternative here was that blue alternative one. Next slide, please. Here we're looking at, I wish my screen was actually a little bit higher on the top there, but here we're looking at different alternatives to get to the state or phase 1 trail going through the river district. The challenge here is State Route 160. Caltrans operates a couple of very old bridges. They're not in the greatest state of repair. I think everybody acknowledges what everybody wants is a true riverfront trail. We want to cross down in front of those bridges and come back up on the levee on the opposite side. So much so that, once again, I mentioned the railroad is a phase 4 project. I think this would qualify as a phase 4 project as well, that we truly want this. There's other entities in the area, such as American River Flood Control District, that also want that. So we're looking for creative ways to partnership and leverage different sources of grant funds to make that happen in the future. However, for now, we also want a near-term solution. So what we looked at are two different alternatives. You see the green alternative is our alternative 1. The magenta is our alternative 2. Alternative 1 looks at having a spur off the Sac Northern Trail that crosses through the neighborhood, actually crosses 16th Street at a signal so we can have a nice, safe crossing through there, goes down Sproul Avenue and ties into Sunbeam where the Dos Rios RT station is planned to be and has their major crossing. It also happens to be a nice juncture with the protected bikeway that the city installed a few years ago. Alternative 2, the magenta, looks at going along the levee and crossing at Richards Boulevard. Again, from that survey from interested parties, and I will agree with this concept, the preferred alternative here is that green alternative 1. Primarily because the alternative 2 crossing at Richards Boulevard is such a busy intersection. With a highway, 3 roads, light rail, all going through in one place. It just already does not function well. It's very high speed, and the idea of crossing trail traffic that close to a highway is rife with issues. So we are going to be pursuing that green alternative 1 moving forward. Next slide. So timelines, again, we just wrapped up our public outreach or our initial public outreach with the project, which means now we're basically summarizing results. We are drafting our feasibility analysis. We are getting a little bit more in depth with our preliminary engineering. From that, we get to roll right into our environmental and technical studies. which basically means going through CEQA. Once we can wrap up CEQA, we will move into final design, and we will have a project, or we are anticipating having a project that is ready for construction in summer of 2026. Now, a couple of caveats there. I'm trying to advance that Eastern Rail crossing even sooner than that. I'm hoping that we can have something that's construction ready by 2025, so we can be in place to build in early 2026. I will also say that we are we're anticipating what type of grant opportunities may be out there to be able to allow us to go to construction with those other segments. And then also just again reiterating the Western Rail crossing and crossing underneath State Route 160. Those are going to be separate efforts. We are going to include those in our scoping and feasibility analysis. We're actually going to clear those for CEQA with this project, but we're not going to be able to go into final design on those efforts right now. Next slide. With that, I want to thank everybody. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'll also point out that we do have a dedicated hotline for Two Rivers Trail, a dedicated web or email address for Two Rivers Trail. So anybody is welcome to reach out in the future with further questions.
Very good, Adam. Thank you so much. Any questions from committee members? Seeing none, any questions from the audience or online?
There are no raised hands.
Sorry, no hands? Okay. Being none, Adam, thank you so much. Really appreciate your presentation as well as Dana's. Just want to point out the acquisition of the Blue Diamond property, the leveraging of the SMUD property allows the trail to be expanded to the Western Railroad tracks. And so that acquisition also helped with the work that Adam's doing on expanding Two Rivers Trail. Eventually have a paved trail from the Pocket area to Sac State and beyond, and provide good alternative transportation as well as access to many of the areas. We have one more presentation. Hopefully we'll be able to end this meeting early, give people some time back. Our last presentation is Dr. Michelle Stevens from California State University, Sacramento, who's been working on the Bushy Lake Conceptual Restoration Plan, very important for the native pond turtles. Dr. Stevens, welcome.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you for inviting me to talk to you about our Bushy Lake project, our turtle project, and what we hope to see in the future. I've timed this to be very short, so you can ask any questions you like at the end. Next slide, please. So Bushy Lake was set aside, the Bushy Lake Preservation Act by Save the American River Association. The green line is the area defined by the Preservation Act. The red line was after the 2021 fire. We worked on it with the fire department, so we had a core area to be protected by fire instead of burning to the lake. Next slide. We have quite an august team of people as well as students. Next slide. So the four major plan goals, one was a sustainable habitat refuge for northwestern pond turtles. We discovered incredible wildlife and avian diversity, so biodiversity is also a goal. We're planting culturally important species that are fire resilient, and we have a garden there as a template for the next restoration. We've got detailed studies optimizing hydrologic conditions for sustainability, and we've done a lot of people out there to see our turtles, to see the site and do education and citizen science. Next slide. So this is probably Sparky number one, the first turtle we caught out there. Northwestern pond turtles are sensitive species in California. So you have to have a permit, but it's the Northwest and Southwest are proposed as threatened under the Federal Endangered Species Act. We've been actually bringing Fish and Wildlife Service out to our site to show them how we trap turtles, how we measure turtles, how we do nesting surveys. Next slide. So we've done nesting surveys every single day for the last 3 years, then every week the last 4 years. The yellow are non-native turtle nests. The pink, you can see, and we've got more of those. Those are actually northwestern pond turtle nests, and the other we couldn't exactly find out because they're predated mostly by raccoons. Just so you know, turtle nests are impossible to find. You cannot find them. People will know where they are. We went back out. So this is quite a bit of data. It's really cool. Next slide, because of students. So we, in the next phase, want to optimize basking, nesting sites, and other habitat for the turtles. Next slide. So our in situ restoration plant uses native culturally important plants for food, medicine, fiber. We are actively tending and gathering this area with tribal people from our area. We'll need to develop an irrigation and adaptive management practice, and we have incredible diversity on the site. Next slide. The center slide is what you should have in your mind as a reference condition for optimum riparian habitat on the lower American River. This is it. This is the big guns. The really, Carex barbarae is more of a keystone species than tules. It's used by basket weavers. You've got mugwort, the medicine plant, elderberry for clapper sticks and food and medicine, and gray willow. Diana Almerendez has been a traditional knowledge holder, been coming out, teaching us about how to care for the plants, and we really, really want to see traditional fire. On the right is Suki. She's my hydrometer. She goes out and shows me how deep the water is. Next slide. One of the things that I've done that I don't think has been done before is the planting palette is a cultural plant alliance map showing how to restore the site, emphasizing cultural plants. Next slide. We've done extensive hydrologic analysis and modeling for sustainable hydrology and continuing water to Bushy Lake on the site. Next slide. So in terms of the next things we need to do, we're first gaining approval from county parks and Cal Expo in particular from our finished plan and recommendations. Of course, this is why I smile at each of you and look you in the eye and say, secure funding for the 65% conceptual restoration plan next stage. Another thing that really came up with our stakeholders is consider transferring land ownership from Cal Expo to another entity, maybe even a tribe, and look at long-term water management. Next slide. So we've been very engaged in community engagement. We have a professional stakeholder advising committee. We've got very engaged with all the environmental groups on the river, trying to learn with them and collaborate. I know I only have 5 minutes, but I have to tell you the highlight of my whole career at Sac State. I have the pick of the litter of the students at Sac State. I'm not even kidding you. We call ourselves the Awanata Dream Team. Awanata is Miwok for turtle. And I just have the most engaged, wonderful students. And so they're the ones who went out there every day doing the turtle nest surveys and things. We want to expand our public education, outreach, citizen science. By the way, we're doing a work day on Saturday, but we're doing a turtle day on Sunday at 10 if you want to come out and see what we do with the turtles. You yourself can hold a non-native turtle. And then we are continuing to expand this relationship with tribes and traditional knowledge and environmental justice. Next slide. Next slide.
Can we get the next slide, please?
Really quickly, one of the next thing we're doing is expanding our turtle monitoring to include the Lower American River. This is going to be a big game changer if the turtle gets listed. Next slide. Next slide. You're welcome to contact us. Our whole report is on our website. We have an email to contact me or social media, lots of social media. Next slide, because of students, of course. So I really want to express gratitude for this grant that you've given to us. We also have an Anchor University grant with our university, with Sacramento County Parks and Save the American River Association. We've had a lot of wonderful people come out, collaborate with us and fund us. So thank you very much.
Very good, Michelle. Thank you for the presentation. Any questions, comments from Supervisor Hume?
Thank you. I do have a question. It's a three-part question. What are the non-native turtle species that are found there? How did they get there? And does their presence in any way undermine the proliferation of the turtles we're trying to protect?
I love it when people ask me turtle questions, then I get more minutes. I love my turtles. So the non-native turtles are primarily red-eared sliders or yellow-bellied sliders. We have found painted turtles, and we had one of the first, we found a peninsular cooter, which is from Florida. It was really huge and it had teeth, but I was just starting. I didn't know we shouldn't put it back. So it went back in. Yes, there's a lot more red-eared sliders, especially in Bushy Lake, because Cal Expo gave away those little turtles and people would just put them back in the water, and they're 35, 40 or so years old. They're ancient. My belief is a little different than other people. I'm Native American. My Waiakena's turtle, and I don't want to see turtles killed unless we show that we can't have enough habitat for all of them, especially there. Can you imagine killing 300 turtles? There may be other areas where the data really warrants it. What we do need to get rid of more than that is bullfrogs, and there's non-native fish in there, so those need to be removed. They eat the baby turtles.
Any other questions, comments? Did want to mention that my wife and I went out on one of the turtle surveys with Michelle. She's invited folks to come out on Sunday, and it's a wonderful experience to get in the canoe and help catch the turtles so they can measure them as part of their scientific studies. Michelle's done a great job training the next generation of restoration and monitoring biologists with her students, and a great program. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you. The last time we were at, this little girl, she was probably 8 or 10. She came up to me afterward and she goes, I'm going to start selling turtle bracelets to make money for the turtles at Bushy Lake. And I go, oh my gosh.
Excellent. Thank you. We have a couple remaining administrative items. The dates set for the 2025 Lower American River Conservancy Advisory Committee meetings are April 11th and October 9th. If there's any concerns with those dates, please contact Kara. Thank Kara for the organizing the tours that a number of the board members went on. One of the tours, we saw 4 bald eagles in the downstream part of the river. Extraordinary to have bald eagles back in downtown Sacramento. This is an example of Tom Bilioni and his master canoe with some of the staff and members of the advisory committee. Getting on the water, as has been mentioned before in previous meetings, is such a different perspective to understand the river. Highly recommend folks do so, and folks need resources to do so. Happy to answer any questions. Given we've covered the advisory committee dates, announcements, any other announcements or other items of interest? Future agenda items. Are there any future agenda items that board members would like to see on future meetings? Seeing none, any questions, comments from community members in the audience or online? Hearing none, seeing none. It is a quarter to 12, and I think a motion to adjourn is in order. Moved by Steve Green, seconded by Jessica. I'm sorry, Jennifer. The motion to votes. Let's just do, I don't think we need a roll call for that. All in favor of adjourning? Opposed? We're adjourned at 12:46, and the second was Jennifer Lucchesi with State Lands Commission. Thanks, everybody, for members of the public for being here, the presentations. Thanks staff for all the work to make this happen, and thanks to the committee members for being here. Great. Supervisor Pros.